welcome to this podcast, Fits Your Macros, with Caileen and Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. It's Thursday. It's another couple days closer to Christmas, and I have that much less shopping done. So,
have you even begun? I haven't even begun yet.
I got my kid taken care of, and I got like one other person, but everybody else is still. And then, of course, don't even get me started on Christmas cards. I'm just getting addresses for that now. So, we'll see if everybody gets a Christmas cards. I know.
If you're listening to this episode and you want a Christmas card from Caileen, drop it in the comments you want.
I put that on Instagram because I was like, who wants? I bought like 70 of them. And Brad's like, why'd you buy 70 Christmas cards? I was like, I don't know. It was just the option to pick. So,
you were just ready for 70 Christmases. That's awesome.
I think it's because I was so excited. We haven't done them in like 5 years. Because, you know, when you first have a kid, you're like, oh, yeah, let's do Christmas cards. And then, like, the years go and you're like, fuck it.
You're like, well, let's just relax on that one. Let's watch a Christmas movie and go to sleep. Exactly. That's right. That's kind of the thing. So
plan. But yeah, so you know, just the usual holiday hustle, you know. What are we talking about today, Ryan?
Well, we are talking about 7 reasons your coach isn't adjusting your macros. And see how I have to be like analytical as I say it, because we have these special titles. Yes. That's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about 7 reasons your coach isn't adjusting your macro. Is it that what it is? I'm losing it. Is that what it is?
It is. See, this is what happens when I switch it on you and have you intro it. It is 7 reasons why your coach isn't adjusting your macros.
That's what I said. So we're good. Perfect. That's what we're going to talk about, people. And stick around to the very end because, you know, as always, these are stone, like, they're gems. Like, if we took a bunch of coal and we compressed it, turned it into fucking diamonds, that's what all 7 of these will be. So make sure you will listen to the end, all right? And we appreciate all you guys being here. Let's start then, Caileen, with obviously, is it worth the macros? And I wonder what you got this week.
So this is something that has been in the field for a while. My daughter saw it at the store and she really wanted to get it, and I was like, okay, give me a second. We'll get it 1 week because it will definitely be an item on is it worth the macros. So it is the Little Debbie's Nutty Buddy ice cream because I want some redemption for the Nutty Buddy after the cereal man because that was such a big disappointment. So I was like, let's get this ice cream. Let's see if they did a justice to it. So it's a little pint. It's kind of like the tiny little Ben and Jerry's size pints, which is like, you know, kind of disappointing. But it worked well because the entire container was 3 serving sizes. So we split it among the family, all 3 of us. And so my review for it is, it's a good chocolate peanut butter ice cream. Yes. Does it taste like a Nutty Buddy? No. And in fact, they tried to incorporate like the wafery part of it, but it ended up tasting like really weird and soggy. So, I mean, it tasted good, don't get me wrong, but like texture-wise, they tried to put those wafers in and it didn't work out. So, is it worth the macros? Did I enjoy eating it? Sure, I did. It was a peanut butter chocolate ice cream. Does it taste like a Nutty Buddy ice cream? No. But yeah, I'm going to go on and list the macros because it's kind of spendy in the macro department.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, do you want serving size or entire container? Because
let's do both. Serving size first.
Okay. So, per serving size, we have 280 calories per 97 grams, which I weighed out 97 grams 3 times. Well, actually, okay, I weighed out 97 grams 2 times, and then Brad took the rest of the container. So, we're just assuming that was 97 grams in the rest of the container. But we've got 16 grams of fat per serving. We've got 28 grams of carbs per serving and a whole 5 grams of protein this time. Woo! We're bumping it up.
5. That's good.
5. But if you ate the whole container and you don't want to do the math, I'll do it for you. It would be 830 calories, 48 grams of fat. Let's see, where am I? 83 grams of carbs and... Whoa, you get 15 grams of protein. Woo! Almost there.
That's pretty good for making gains with 15 grams of protein. Did you say 43 fat?
48.
48. See, you know what's funny, people? For a lot of people that I coach that are competitors, that are female competitors, they may be eating only 40 to 45 grams of fat per day. So,
yeah, I'm at
watch
50,
the ice cream, you know, because like honestly too, you said it was one of those the tiny little pint things, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who's eating a serving out of that? Let's be honest. I mean, some people, but.
But no, most people buy those to just crush the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of comments too. It's funny, people have been messaging me saying that they resemble you in the way you track everything. They're like, you take the whole other stance that everybody eats, but everybody else is like, yeah, I plan my food 6 months in advance. I'm like, whoa, who knew? So many of you out there. So if that's you, comment and let me know that that's you that is doing the same thing. You would eat one serving out of an ice cream like a freaking like a murderer, okay? A psychopath, serial killers. Serial killers are probably the only people that would do that. Get a whole little pint of ice cream and they're like, let me weigh out the 97 grams, okay? Challenge me on that. Let's see. So what do you say out of 1 to 10 then? What's your rating?
Well, I love chocolate peanut butter anything, so I feel like I'm going to be a little biased towards it, but I'd rate out a solid 7.5, 8, you know, for an ice cream. It wasn't bad. And the whole family loved it.
Okay, so. 7.5, 8. But those macros, they sound pretty. This is a higher tier of macros than we've had in a little bit. So, I mean, granted, I don't know what normal ice cream is, so maybe this is just standard ice cream macros. But, all right, 7.5, 8.
Yeah, solid. I mean, I'd much rather, if I'm going to eat ice cream, go to the local ice cream shop and get that. But I can guarantee it is not just one serving size of ice cream I'm getting there. So there's that, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And who's measuring that thing? The guy behind the counter is like the only guy. His eyes, her eyes, whoever's working, they're like, oh, this is one scoop. This looks like one scoop.
The scoop is like
that'd be like me, you know, because we always talk about Chipotle. That'd be like me, you know, when you go there and like sometimes somebody like they just know how much you actually want of that chicken and they give you a little extra. And then sometimes you get the lady there that's like, no, 2 pieces for you. And it's the same price. And you're like, what? Like, if I was at Chipotle, if I worked there, I'd be loading everybody up. They'd fire me after day one. Because it'd be like, you use all the chicken in the store. And I'd be like, you know what? It's because everybody coming in here needs to make some damn gains. So fire me then.
It's in the name of gains.
Exactly.
It's a noble cause.
And I just spray paint it on the wall as I left. It'd be like, the gains master was here and leave after I got fired from Chipotle. So if anybody wants to know what I would do if I wasn't doing this, I'd work at Chipotle and get fired day one.
I think you should just do that one day. I mean, everybody's hiring.
Just show up. Oh, you know what I'll do is like one of those incognito things where I like put on a fake mustache and like a wig, and I'll just go get a job, and we could film it secret. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Content, we might have to do that. Oh, what are we talking about again?
Content. Yeah, I know. That's where we got to go. It's all right. Sorry, people. Sorry. But now we'll get to the real shit that you all want to know. So, again, go ahead and tell us what the title is so I don't have to try to repeat myself.
7 reasons your coach is not adjusting your macros. Because you're all wondering it. I know it.
Yes. Yes, and you're wondering it on many levels probably, right? Like, this is a big topic, actually. And when Caileen put this on the list, I was like, okay, let's do that one because this is, something that everybody can wonder about in many capacities. I know that a lot of clients, even too, may get concerned if their macros aren't changing or if they're changing too often or, and really it's not per se always an indicator of what you think it is. So we're going to cover these with 7 things that we think kind of sums it up. And I'm going to fire it up first off with number 1. Because this is a majority of why this doesn't happen in this industry as a whole. If you got yourself a coach and they're not adjusting your macros, your coach might fucking suck. That might be it. Like, literally, that's the truth. Okay? That's the first thing you should consider. Do you have a good coach? Okay? And what makes a good coach with your macros? Is somebody tuned in to your macros? Are they checking your tracking and your check-ins and your stats and making sure you're progressing towards your goal? If all that's going on, then okay, you're not in step 1. But a majority of people that are not getting their macros adjusted probably have a coach that fucking sucks, okay? And that's because there's a lot of coaches out there, as we always talk about, and I hammer coaches all the time on the show if you guys haven't noticed, but it's all right because it's true. It's facts, people.
There's a lot of bad ones out there.
If you went to the library and read a book and it said it in there, it would be about as real as this. So, it's the same thing. Realistically, there's a lot of coaches out there that want to treat people like dollar signs and numbers. And they want to bring you in and they want to say, okay, here's your numbers. And they got the money. They swipe the card. Good deal. See you later. And, they're not connecting with you. They're not following your check-ins. They're not, communicating with you. They're not doing anything. And therefore, your macros will not change because you got a lazy, shitty piece of shit coach. I mean, I think I kind of covered number one, but do you have anything to that, Caileen?
Oh, I mean, just saying that, like, in the online coaching realm, there is so much opportunity to just be a shit ghost coach. But, like, I tell everybody I consult with, I'm like, if you've online coached before and you've had a bad experience, I guarantee you this one will be different. Like, we are up in your shit with Team Flex. So, it's nothing you're going to find with Team Flex. Yeah. We are always checking up on you, making sure everything's okay. So that's what I'll say about that, is because it is a little bit of a gamble going to an online coach because, you're not in person, and it's very easy to ghost, but you're not going to find that here.
Yeah, and that's 100% the fact, right? Like, it's funny because, like, everybody knows, if you guys have followed us on social media or commented or DM'd me anytime, I answer these fucking things, okay? I do this many times throughout the week, every day for the most part. And a lot of times there's people out there, some of you out there that have coaches that are asking me questions. And a lot of times I'm answering these questions days before your coach ever sees it. So you better believe all of our clients on Team Flex, they're handled. I'm not going to the DMs to answer your questions about how much cardio you should be doing when you're doing 6 hours cardio a day, when there's people that, are actual clients that have questions. So those are factors you have to consider. Your coach may suck, and, kind of think about that from the perspective of the guy. Have we done an episode on, coaches not being good? Like, maybe we should do a full episode on things to look for, how to get your coach and all that, so write that down, because maybe we could just do a whole episode on what to look for in a good coach, not that we're experts or anything, but shit, maybe we fucking are, people.
We just
all right. So take number 2 then, Caileen. Where are we at? Number 2.
Ooh, this one is, I wouldn't say one of my favorite ones because it's not a happy instance, but like, it's one that grinds my gears. Like, not checking in. Like, I do not know how clients expect for a coach to make any changes when we haven't heard from you in like 4 weeks, They'll, like, I have had clients before that have been like, oh, when are you going to change my macros? I'm like, I have been trying to reach out for you for the last 4 weeks to get check-ins, and I have nothing. I don't know what your body measurements are. I don't know what you're looking like. I don't know if we need to cut, if we need to gain. Like, we need some check-ins, girl or boy, before we can make any data decisions here. Because, I mean, the only way we can make decisions is off of data. Like, I am not a mind reader. I cannot, like, teleport myself to your house to do your check-ins for you. I wish I could, because that would be awesome, but we need you guys to do your part in things as well. And I will nag you and nag you and nag you until you get them in, but until you get them in, I cannot change your macros.
Yeah, that's totally true. And now we're moving into the real deal list, people, by the way. If your coach is good, these are the reasons that, there still could not be adjustments happening to your macros. And not checking in is a very big one. It's kind of funny to think, like, online coaching, it's a 50-50 game, okay? 50% your coach, 50% the client. You have to have both people actively being engaged in doing each other's job in order for it to work. And you know what's funny? It's the same in the gym if you go get a trainer. People think that, like, oh, well, online coaching is so much harder because it's online. It's actually way more fucking beneficial than in gym trainers. I was an in-gym trainer for a long time, and this shit works way better for results and everything else, and actually being able to have a coach. But, just think, okay, if you had an appointment somewhere, let's say you had to go to the gym to train with your trainer, or you had a doctor's appointment, or you had any other kind of appointment, and you don't show up, well, you know what happened? Nothing. The whole fucking appointment didn't happen because you didn't show up. And that's kind of the way you got to think about it with check-ins, right? If you don't show up and do your side of it, then it doesn't allow anybody else to do anything, right? Your coach can't go in and say, okay, well, I'm just going to adjust things based on what I believe in my brain because I have a crystal ball and I saw the future. That's not likely. I mean, shit. It's not likely. We're not that far yet, people. We'll get there one day. But, for now, you got to do your check-ins. So staying on top of that is important. And obviously I know there's the whole other side of this, too, that, a lot of people will miss a check-in for whatever reason. And that's just fine. Sometimes it just doesn't work that day. I get that as a client. Maybe Sunday you woke up and it was a catastrophe. You woke up, you're going to try to get your Starbucks right before you do your check-ins. You got a flat tire and now you're stuck in the woods somewhere, like in the rain. This shit happens to people, okay? That's fine. Check in the next day then, or do it midweek. Just do it at some point, and don't ghost your coach. Check in. Some clients I have, they don't even do full check-in sometimes. They'll just shoot me a message and say, hey, I didn't get time to do my measurements, my pictures today, but here's what's going on. And that's great. That's a check-in, people. Doesn't mean your macro is going to change per se. You didn't get all your stats, but maybe that's where you were that day. So if you're one of those people, and it happens to everybody, people miss check-ins. I'm sure Caileen has missed some, maybe not, because it's Caileen, but I'm sure that people, along the road miss check-ins, right? So it is normal, and if it happens, just do something, make contact, let your coach know what's up, or do them the next day. I mean, there are some coaches that only let you check in on one specific day. And again, divert back to step one. You have a shitty coach then. I let people check in anytime. If they say they miss it, great. Check in fucking Thursday. I don't care. Even if I wanted it Sunday, just do it. All right. So that's kind of what I think. Anything to add there?
Yeah, I just want to add that, if I'm getting ghosted by a client, 9 out of 10 times there's shit going on that I would love to talk them through, that they sometimes they just get so shamed. Yeah. Maybe they went through a binge eating disorder or a little spout, and it's I have been there before. Let me talk you through this, Don't be ashamed. Don't ever be ashamed to check in with your coach. Whether it's a good check-in or a bad check-in, or just, like you said, touching base, we just want to hear from you, and we want to help you out however we can, and we just cannot help you if you are not doing your part of it and at least communicating with us in somehow. So that's one thing I just want to add.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And if again you don't feel like you have that communication ability with your coach, you should be able to have that. You might not have it even if you have a good coach, but that takes one conversation to get that, and to be like, hey, you know what? Hey, I had a really bad week, a lot of shit going on. I've been eating way too much. I haven't done any of my training. And then you say, great, your coach should, if they're a good coach, say, hey, okay, great, no worries. How are we going to improve this week? Let's take one step. Let me help you find that one step. And then before you know it, the ball's rolling again, people, because you want to get those goals. You want to get where you want to be. But if you're not doing the things that you need to be doing, you're going to stay in the same spot. And if you ghost your coach and kind of blank out on checking the whole process, all likelihood is going to be sometime down the road, you're totally reset and you're going to have to start all over. Oftentimes much worse off. So definitely avoid that if you can. Just communicate with your coach. It should be an easy thing to do if you have that line of communication, which you should have. Yep.
And of course with Team Flex app, communicating is we're literally in your pocket at any time. So that's pretty cool too.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep. Okay. Well, what do we got here next then? Let's see. Want me to hit this one, Caileen? You haven't been compliant to your exercise or workout plan, okay? This is another one that can really affect if your macros are getting adjusted or not. Simply because if you haven't been training people, I mean, I can't talk for too long on this one because it should just make sense. If you haven't been actually training or doing your workouts, then we haven't given proper feedback time to see if anything needs to be adjusted, right? If you're in the gym and you're doing the program and everything's going right and the sets and the reps and everything's being executed upon and you're kicking ass, completing everything, that gives us the data we need to say, all right, well, here's what they did, here's what happened, and now here's what we need to do next. But if you missed that first piece and you didn't complete all the workouts, or, you haven't done any of them, then you know what? Now we have to wait a length of time again now for you to do that. We have to pretty much wait at least another week for you to actually execute that, for us to see what the actual data and feedback is. How's your body responding? How's progress looking? And that is pretty much, fundamental to adjusting any macros.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're being mad scientists with the energy expenditure here. So we need consistent energy expenditure data to make these calculations, because even the intensity too, man. Let's talk about intensity. If you just had a real shit week and you're telling your coach, like, man, my workout sucked this week. Like, I hardly ever put up any PRs. I was just doing the motions. Like, that's going to affect that too. So high quality workouts along with being compliant too. So make sure, I love with Team Flex, our app too, of course, at the end of every workout, you can rate the intensity. So we can see right then and there, like, oh, you know, this intensity wasn't hard enough for this client, like what's going on, and maybe touch base, and maybe it's like, oh, I'm just dragging ass this week and my heart wasn't in it. And okay, well then when we look at the end of the week and compare that to what we need to do macro-wise, it's like, well, I don't know that I want to move anything because it wasn't a normal week for this client. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%. And like, you know, if you have a good coach, like I keep saying, because it's my favorite term of the day, if you have a good coach, hashtag it somewhere and put it in a story if you're listening to this right now. Okay, say you're listening to this and hashtag if you have a good coach. Literally, you know, you should err on the side of caution, in my opinion, as coaches. You know, like that should be what is done. A lot of times there's coaches that maybe don't have their best experience and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're totally gung-ho to make monumental movements like every week, just trying to keep people like, oh, well, they changed my stuff. It's exciting. They changed my stuff. It's a good thing. They changed my stuff. You know, I need variety. Well, no, that's actually not really how any of this shit works. Really how training and nutrition, which we're going to talk about in a second here, work is going to be with consistency, okay? And so if you haven't been consistent, I'm not going to go say, yeah, well, you know what? You didn't do all your workouts this week, but that's all right. I'm going to up your macros because I think it's okay. No, I would rather see in the actual data it's okay and make sure that, okay, from what I'm seeing in your check-in pictures, what I'm seeing in your stats, what I'm seeing in your workouts, what I'm seeing in your reps, your sets, your weights, all of that is actually equating towards us getting closer to your goal. And if that's not happening, I'm going to say, you know what? Well, I'm going to wait until I see that shit then. Like, even you, Caileen, obviously I coach you. There's many weeks. How many weeks sometimes go by where I don't adjust a single fucking thing and you're still doing everything 100%?
Oh, it's just many reasons on the list, but I trust the process, you know, and it's like, I know I'm in good hands because, you know, I've got a good coach. Yeah. Hashtag if you have a good coach.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's roll the next thing then, number 4, because this kind of goes right along with what we're talking about for the most part.
That is nutrition compliance. Oh, nutrition, the trickiest part of it all to some of us out there. But yeah, if you are not getting your macros in, which at Team Flex, I know, with the app, we know we get little notifications when you have done your nutrition to a what's the word I'm looking for? When you nail your nutrition, basically, we get a notification the next day, which always makes me so happy. But again, at the end of the week with check-ins, I look, and if I see like 0% nutrition compliance, it's like, what am I supposed to do here? Have you been eating 5,000 calories? Have you been eating 20 calories a day? Like, we have no clue. Again, science isn't there yet for us to clone us and, like, you know, go to your house and make sure you're eating. So we need that nutrition data. And like one of my biggest like pet peeves, I don't know. When I'm asking someone, you know, I see maybe their nutrition compliance isn't the best and they're like, well, I'm like eating the same thing every day, so I just stopped logging it. And I'm like, but are you really? Because I know that little bites here and there come about, and I don't know. From my personal experience with me, when I'm not logging stuff, which rarely happens, we know, it's you know, it's not a good day. You know what I'm saying? So even if you're eating the same goddamn thing over and over and over again, I want to see it. And if you're using a meal tracker, it's super easy. If you really are eating the same thing every day, swipe same as yesterday, same as yesterday, same as yesterday. It's really easy to do. So I don't want to hear that as an excuse either. But we have no idea how to adjust your macros if we have no idea how you've been eating. And I'll pass it to you for any further comments.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it just comes down to the same thing as the workouts, really. Like, if you're not doing the plan, then the plan won't fucking work. And I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. And this can come both ways with nutrition, actually, right? Because you could be overeating, or you could be under-eating. You could be over-tracking or under-tracking. Like, you could be doing any of those things, or you could be hitting it on point, but we can't see to actually know that. So that means when we go look at your progress, and we're seeing all these stats, and we're seeing these numbers, and we're seeing your pictures, it doesn't per se indicate to us that the reason that you are there is because of what we have done and the plans. So we can't simply just go, all right, well, again, this comes back to what I just said. I'm not going to take a shot in the dark, and no coach that's doing a good job should. It should instead be, all right, well, let's get compliant here. And let's be clear about this too, for anyone listening. Our nutritional compliance is not like 100, okay? We're not looking for 100% of tracked macros every single day from anybody. It's more of a ballpark and a range. We just want to see consistent effort. And so it doesn't mean, okay, if you have 1,700 calories is your goal. We don't need to see 1,700 calories on the dot 7 days a week to make a decision. We just want to see, okay, you're in the ballpark and you're making this effort and you're getting these things down. That gives us enough data to say, okay, well, based on that, we can do X, Y, and Z and adjust the numbers. And when it comes to adjusting the nutrition, that's a critical factor. For where progress is going to go. For example, if you're not tracking everything correctly, or you're not tracking at all, and somebody's making an adjustment for you, and they add you another 250 calories, another 500 calories on your reverse, if you're not ready for that, now you're going to be putting on body fat, okay? And you're undoing progress. And the same goes for if you falsely get cut. If you're trying to build muscle or something, but it looks like you're gaining too much because your tracking's off, well, now you get cut down, now you're not going to gain muscle, and you're also slowing metabolism. So, the nutritional tracking is, honestly more important from the perspective of looking at it coaching-wise from the training, but literally just get your shit done. Do the right things. Do the things you're supposed to be doing. If you got a coach, I'm assuming you're paying for it, and if you're paid for it, you invested your time, your effort, your money, and your coach is doing the same thing back to you. Get in there and do the job so that, everybody, it's that 50-50 thing we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the lifetime hack of it literally takes 5 minutes to plan your meals for the day. At the end of the night, just take your meal tracker out, put what you're going to eat for the next day. Not only does that guarantee that you're going to stay on track for the day, but then you don't have to worry about it the next day. And if you just keep making that a habit, then your coach is happy, you're happy because you're seeing results, and your coach is able to change your macros, because of that. So, and I also want to add on the app, I freaking love the nutrition tracker on the app because it's very color coded. If you're in the blue, you haven't quite hit your macro yet. If you're yellow, you're within that acceptable range. Then if you're red, you're over. So it breaks it down really easy. I just love it so much.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I love that. And, again, this all comes back to communicating. If you're having a hard time with this and you got a good coach, let them know, and they can give you tips. We can give you tips. If you're listening and we're not even coaching you, send us a DM. We'll tell you what to do. We do this shit all day, people. We love it. This is what we do.
Yeah.
All right, so we're on to number 5. But first, if you guys are listening still, we appreciate you being here. Make sure that you are following this. You are subscribed. You are letting us know what you want us to do. Drop us a comment down there. If anything, we're saying at any point in time is giving you ideas for stuff you want to know about, questions, whatever. Drop them down, and we'll do that. We're probably at the point where we have enough consistency here. We should start doing a little Q&As at the end or something. So drop some questions down below. If you have them, we'll answer them on the next show at the end of the show.
Yes, I love it.
Brings to number 5.
Number 5. Okay. So, number 5, your body is doing what it needs to be doing. A lot of times when, especially with newer clients, when you just start tracking your macros, you will start to, if your goal is weight loss, you will start losing weight because you're actually taking a second and thinking about what you're eating. And this effect can go on for weeks and weeks and weeks of your body just being like, hell yeah, you're feeding me the way I'm supposed to be fed. And you might have great results for I'm talking, I have some clients that are just beep, 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 beep. And I haven't touched their macros at all. They're just actually being mindful of what they're eating and following their macros, and their body is just grateful for it. So, I'll have check-ins with them and I'll be like, yo, your body's doing what it needs to be doing. We're going to keep it here. You're satiated. There's no reason to cut you further, because honestly, when we're looking at a client, and especially with weight loss clients, we want you to be the most calories that we can be while having weight loss. So that's always, what our tactics will be is, get the calories high, as high as we can with weight loss. And as long as you're still losing weight, I'm not going to touch them. All right. If the workouts are there, the nutrition's there, your body's doing the job, and we're just going to ride this until it doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is too, that's another, damn, I'm about to say it again. If you got a good coach, the plan should be designed well from the start, right? Like, I have that a lot, especially with new people, even people that are well-seasoned, experienced athletes, or, clients that are maybe lifestyle clients, but they've been working out in gyms for years. They'll come onto the team, and I'll design their plan, and I'll set it up, and the shit should just work. That's the factor, right? Like, all the time, new people are like, oh, no, it's been 2 weeks, you didn't change my macros. Are you not paying enough attention? What's going on? I'm getting worried. I'm scared. My macros should be changing. My last coach changed my macros actually every day based on whoa, right? Like, calm down. Hey, your last coach gave you some generic bullshit. We're doing the real deal. This shit will work. It should work. And so, that's the thing. You got to actually do it and have the plan be designed well. And if it is, it should work. And it can actually work for a long time. Some of the best transformations you have seen on our Instagram or anywhere, we put a lot over there. If you guys aren't following us, follow us at Team Flex. We do tons of transformations, and I swear some of those that I've done, at least, I don't know, there's some you have over there, maybe you can touch on, Caileen, but the ones that I've done that people are like, whoa, this is crazy, this is incredible, what was this timeline? I maybe adjusted that person's calories like within 300 to 400 calories in total from the time I started them. Like, literally what it was the actual training and the actual nutrition and getting the consistency and then having the coaching that really produced that result. It was not changing macros every single weekend because we thought we should or anything else. Like, if you looked at the range for a lot of those transformations, people can lose a ton of body fat, a ton of weight, build a ton of muscle without actually having to have so many adjustments to their nutrition if the plans mesh together, they work together, and, they were set correctly.
Yeah, man, I posted, I think a couple days ago, my 6-year-old masters athlete who dropped 60 pounds over the year with me. I think I changed her macros maybe 5 times over the year for probably about the same amount of calories, and 60 fucking pounds, guys. And she's masters, and the ladies, as we get advanced in age, it ain't easy losing weight, but this lady crushed it. Right. And I'm so proud of her. So you can check that out on my page. It's under my most epic transformation of the year.
Yeah, that's epic. I mean, that is epic, right? You said 60 pounds. See? And that's crazy. 5 times adjustments on macros. And that's because Caileen's making great plans and she's checking in. She's keeping people consistent. That is the key. Okay, that's one of the keys. So understand that, your body could be doing what it needs to be doing, and that's all you need to be doing. Which kind of brings us to the next one, which is almost like part 2 of this that I'll just lead us right in here. Number 6.
Go ahead.
And I really couldn't figure out how to describe this, so I'm just going to read what I wrote because it sounds pretty good. Even if you think you're at a plateau, you may not be seeing your progress accurately. Okay, now let me explain what this means. This basically means there's a lot of clients, right, that I still get these messages today, right? I've been doing this shit for fucking ever. There's like thousands of transformations that I've done now in my career, and people will still ask me at some point, many times, they'll be like, hey, I'm at a plateau, I'm stuck, I feel stuck, this isn't working, we need to change things. And I'm like, okay, well, first off, have you seen the shit that I've been doing for my whole fucking... No, I don't say that. But, I understand where clients come from, right? Because what happens is, when you see yourself every day, and this is literally word for word, any of my clients watching this have probably heard this at some point. When you see yourself every day, and you are within your own body 24/7, and it's looking in the mirror, and it's doing all these things, you're not going to notice your body changing as much. You're not going to notice that progress. You kind of get like what I call progress goggles. Right, we talk about prec goggles and whatever. That's another variation of it. But like progress goggles, which is hard to say for some reason. Progress goggles.
Progress goggles.
Say that 16 times fast. Yeah, well, say it fast. But
Progress goggles. Progress goggles. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. What Well, you do. You must spend time trying to do that, or maybe I just can't talk. I don't know which one it is. But yeah, you got these progress goggles on that really, you can't see accurately where you're going. And then a lot of times what I do is, another great feature of our coaching and how we keep so much track of everything from stats to pictures and everything else, and it's all there all the time. It's not like, a lot of coaches do this email where you send in your check-in, and like if you want to go find the check-in from 3 months ago, you're going to go dig through 8,000 emails to do it. No, all of our stuff is there in our app, and you can literally see every progress picture you ever took, all the stats you've ever tracked, everything, every weight even, like set, rep, all that. So what I can do a lot of times is I go, all right, well, actually, take a look at this. Let me show you this. You're not seeing it because you got that progress goggle on, but take a look. Here's a side-by-side. And then I'll point out each individual spot that their physique has changed. Their body's changing. Things are changing. The goal's getting closer. And a lot of times people still can't even see that because they're so, progress goggled that they can't even see when they're making progress even in pictures sometimes, which I get. I get it, people. It happens. So then you can pull the stats and you say, take a look at these stats. And then you show them the stats. And sometimes even then they say, I still don't get it. Well, here's the answer, okay? Coach knows best. If you got a good coach, there it is again. Somebody needs to keep tabs. Somebody re-listen to this episode and track how many times I said that. Actually, probably my brother, when he's editing this, might be able to do that, but that'd be hilarious. But the
Shout
point
out
is,
Colin. He's the best.
You got to make sure that you trust everybody. You got to trust in your coach. If you don't have that trust to know your coach is on top of their shit and they're doing everything they need to be doing for you, divert back to one. Your coach might suck. You might need to get a new coach. But if you have a good coach, just trust them and trust the process of it, right? Which I hate saying. I hate seeing that shit all the time. Trust the process, okay? Get better communication is what I would say. Get better communication with your coach then. Like, literally, I will spend sometimes, literally what I just said, doing the pictures, doing the stats, doing the metrics, doing the conversations. I will spend an hour compiling all that shit and having that conversation with somebody just to make sure they understand what's going on and making sure that then I'm going to be more transparent every check-in with the actual progress markers that they need to be seeing, right? Like, oh, here's a change. Here's something you were looking at. You were worried that, your waist wasn't shrinking down a bit. You were worried the scale's not going down. Well, I looked at it today, and this is what I'm seeing. I'll get ahead of the game with trying to make that clear. So I've been ranting here. Maybe you got something to add here, Caileen.
The only thing I would add is that, non-scale victories are, in my opinion, so much better than scale victories.
Yes.
So even when you're not seeing the scale moving, or maybe it's doing this kind of thing here for a while, but then you're wearing the pants that you were wearing in high school that you never thought you'd wear again. Who the fuck cares what that says? You're still making progress because you're fitting in. I just had a client yesterday was oh my gosh, I'm having to do all mind you, this is in the holiday season. She's having to buy herself a whole new set of pants because she's losing weight during the holidays. Holler, kudos to her. She's rocking it. But it's and so with her, again, it's I haven't changed her macros in a while because she's going down in pant sizes and she's feeling great. And think of all you, along with the stats, lifting wise, okay, you just took your barbell hip thrust. You were started out at 60 pounds and now you're at 200 pounds hip thrust. Holy cow, that's awesome. I think taking time to acknowledge when you're in a plateau, the non-scale victories is just as important as the metrics as well. And mostly, especially with clothing sizes, because that's just instant feedback. Because sometimes even in pictures, it's hard to see differences. And we as coaches can, and I'd be like, girl, do you see you've got no waist now? And she's like, oh, I don't know. But then I'm like, okay, so how are your pants fitting? Oh yeah, I had to buy all new pants. And it's hello, that is progress there. So we're gonna keep this going, all right, girl? Exactly. So that's what I'll add to that.
Yeah, I like it. Now I come up with another one. So one more quick little jab here, people. Sorry that I talk so much. But, another thing is, too, sometimes even when I'm doing a program and I'm checking stats, I don't need to fucking see your pictures change or the scale change for me to really go ahead and say you're getting progress if I know what I'm doing is right. Okay? So I've seen so many times where we get people that will hit a plateau and they'll be really worried about it. but progress is not linear, okay? Like, progress does not go like this. This does not mean every single week you will be dropping. Every single week your pictures will look different. In fact, it will never fucking be that way, because that's not actually how any of this works. There's, like, honestly no purpose to even do check-ins every week, aside to keep somebody compliant and also to track data, okay? Because the data lets us know where things are going, right? If you only did, like, you could feasibly probably do one check-in a month, like, on a grand scale if you wanted to run a whole thing, but it wouldn't be enough data, okay? Because realistically, you know, the biggest changes you're going to see are not going to happen in a week ever. They're probably not going to happen in 2 weeks. They're probably not going to happen in 4. It's like you said, right? Your client that lost 60 pounds, she did that in 1 year, right? Not in 1 week, not in 1 month, not in 4, not in 6. 1 year, okay? And I'm sure there were some steps along that way, and maybe not, but there was probably times where, you know, she was at a plateau for a while, and things didn't move, and things didn't adjust, but that's okay, because I've seen so many times, especially with, like, weight loss people, fat loss, you know, they'll hit this stride where maybe it's a week that goes by, nothing changes, 2 weeks go by, nothing changes, 3 weeks go by, nothing changes, boom, all of a sudden we're 5 down on the 4th week, okay? Which is also the exact way it should be tracking. So if you got a coach that knows what they're talking about, and they know what they're doing, they know what the program is, you know, and they're doing all of the above things, by the way, you're doing all those, like, this is almost a list that works down in importance of what you should be doing, which is genius, because we didn't even set this up correctly. Like, this wasn't on purpose. This is just by chance it's this great. But, like, you know, if you're doing all those things, then it's probably just that factor of not understanding that progress is not linear, and it's not. But if you keep doing the same shit and you stay consistent, it will come. Something will happen either way. And if it's good, that's great. If it's bad, your coach will change it. And then it'll be great again. Big deal. So I think then we're on number 7, Caileen. You wanna start us in here? Number 7. This is our last one, people.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on this with the last little rant there, is that you haven't given yourself enough time to need changes. You know, like, again, like we just said, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. Like, you're not gonna, well, sometimes, very rarely, you know, you'll have someone who put new macros, boom, they drop 10 pounds. But that's usually someone who is coming from a very overweight state, perhaps, that is just reeling in their macros. And that's going to happen every once in a while, because you're changing your eating habits so drastically. But most of us, you know, are going to be making subtle changes. And that's really what we want, is like slow and controlled weight loss at the end of the day, because that's going to be the most sustainable, the most healthy. But again, like, you're not going to be changing this every single week, because you won't have time to see the changes that we need. So, I mean, just patience, man. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and that's the way you got to think about this thing, you know?
You also have to think, too, the more advanced you become, the less things change, okay? Mm-hmm. This is a big one. Timelines are not the same for everyone else. So when we say you haven't given yourself enough time, it doesn't mean that it should be like, oh, a week went by, a month went by. No, that's going to be different for everybody, okay? So, like, let's talk, for example, athletes, competitors, or anybody in performance on any level that's a high-performing athlete, person, you know, competitor, whatever. The progress they make is so much astronomically slower, even though they are doing the most advanced training you can do. Okay, and that's in sports performance. That's also in bodybuilding. That's in everything, right? Like, you know, it's funny. Like Dexter Jackson, you know, we Center Podium. We do their shows, all this stuff. Dexter Jackson, who's an old school bodybuilder, he won some Olympias and things like that. He's been competing forever. He just retired last season. I saw on his Instagram at some point, or maybe he showed me an event. I can't remember. But he's like, hey, look at my 20-year progress, because he's been doing this shit for so long. And he literally made like a Instagram square post of like 20 years of his progress. And literally you look at it, and it looks debatably identical for 20 years. But then if you really look at it and you're like, okay, let me see, then you start to see all the things that actually improved. But like, this guy was one of the top bodybuilders in the world. He won the Olympia. So like, okay, that's why that looks like that. That progress looks, you know, very minuscule, because they're training so hard and they're already so advanced that you just, at some point, you don't make huge strides overnight. And, you know, like you were saying, with people that, you know, fat loss, weight loss, Really, maybe people that are far that direction, they're going to maybe get on a plan, drop 10 pounds in week 1. And then they might drop 5 in week 2. They might drop 2 in week 3. And then again, as they get more advanced, they get better and better, with their nutrition, they're training harder, doing all this. Progress will slow down. And it's simply not because you're doing anything wrong. It's just because you're advanced now. You're at a different level. You're into a new threshold where things slow down. There's they used to call it, back when I was a wee lad, beginner gains, people, okay? Beginner gains.
New beginnings.
Like, I remember when me and my brother started working out in the gym when we were like, I don't even know, pretty young, 13, I don't know. I was getting jacked so instantly. Now I go to the gym and I'm like, fuck, what the hell? I'm doing so much harder shit now. When I was benching the bar trying to learn bench press, I was getting chest gains back then. Now I go to the gym, fucking do 400 pounds. I can't get any stronger. I'm like, so it's the same thing, people. So, your timelines can be different. It can be totally different. And you just got to remember, maybe you haven't given yourself enough time to actually see that result. And that's another time when you can lean on your coach to make sure things are going right. And I've said it a lot, but communication is the number one thing you can have with a coach, any coach you have. Like, you should be able to communicate anything that is going on in your training environment, in your life, and all that. So if you're wondering why your macros aren't adjusting, if you're one of our clients listening to this right now, and you're like, oh, all these 7 things sound whatever, Ryan, but I'm not sure, man, message me then, ask me, and I'll tell you why your macros didn't change. I mean, that's another thing. A lot of times when I'm training people, I'll tell them exactly why. Hey, no adjustments today because everything looks good. It sounds fucking good. We're moving on. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Exactly. I just want to add one little thing, and that is that comparison is the theft of joy when it comes to
Yes.
your progress and such. So speaking of the 2 different types of athletes, I've had people before, I post, oh, look at this client losing all this weight, and they're like, oh man, I only lost 1 pound this week, and I'm like, you still lost 1 pound. That's awesome, you know? So just when it comes to, just don't ever compare anybody to anybody else. Because that's when you start thinking, oh my gosh, am I losing enough? Oh my gosh. And that's when the self-talk happens. And that's when you talk to your coach and say, hey, I'm having these thoughts. And then I'll tell you, quit comparing, because comparison is theft of joy. But here's why we're not changing things, yada, yada, yada. Or here's why we're going to change things, blah, blah, blah. So just had to throw that in there because we don't hear often enough that, quit comparing yourself to others.
Yep. Absolutely, and we should do maybe an episode on that at some point, but
that
too much to talk about now. We've been here a while. Another nice hour episode. We appreciate all you tuning in. What do we got to say here? What do we got to say? Nothing. We got to say thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Make sure you're following, subscribe. You know what? If you guys like this, if you liked anything that was on here, share it with one person, because these things will help a lot of people, okay? And that's the whole reason we do this show. There's so many people listening to this, and we talk a lot about coaching, but we're not coaching everyone that listens to this. Let me tell you, we're not. So we do this to help those of you out there. And what helps even more is if you got a friend, you got a family member, you got somebody that follows you on Instagram that you think could benefit from any of this, send them a quick little shot of this, or even just take a screenshot, post it in your story, tag us, and that's awesome. And Caileen always says she'll give you free shit. Is that what we're doing here again?
I was literally gonna say, if you screenshot that you were listening and you tag us, and make sure to send me a message too, so I see it, because sometimes things get buried the way that Instagram does things now. So literally send me your screenshot and be like, yo, look, I shouted you out, and I don't know if you can see, but I've got a shit ton of merch here that I would love to send you.
Shit tons. That's a big offer. Free merch for just a screenshot on the gram, people. So do it. Just get off here now. Just leave. Just leave.
Yeah.
Just leave. Screenshot it and get on Instagram. Tag it right now. We hope to be seeing it. And thank you guys for listening. That's it for me. What about you, Caileen?
See you next week. Drop your comments and what you want to see and what you want me to eat this week.
That's right. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.